like H-E-B or Walmart?
H-E-B.
Okay.
But I love Walmart.
Or
well, you can't paint me into that corner. Both of them are huge supporters of the chamber. I tell you what, I do business in both.
Okay. Hi, I'm Kristina Zachary with the Zachary team with Phyllis Brown & Company. We are here for our second podcast for Home Sweet Home San Antonio Live. Thank you so much for joining us, and we have a very special guest today. He is with the Chamber of Commerce. He is Joe Kampa, and I know we don't want to waste much time, so let's kind of get started talking on him. Hi, Joe.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Kristina.
As always, we're super excited that I think we bumped you up a month, right?
I don't know. It just seemed like we were having a hard time getting our schedules together.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I'm finally here.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I actually think you were for October, but you're here for September.
Oh, I guess that
yes.
You're right. That did happen. Right.
Perfect. So I'm super excited. So tell the YouTube world and everybody watching what it is that you do for Chamber of Commerce, and also tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you into Chamber of Commerce and what you do now.
Well, I've been a volunteer with the Chamber of Commerce since 2009. When we first moved to town, my wife and I are a military family. And so we moved to San Antonio back in 2009 from England. So we came in a time when it was extremely warm in July.
Yeah.
And bought a house here, and so we bought a house in one of those neighborhoods that has a swimming pool. It's the only way we were able to survive the difference in climate.
Yeah.
But I knew from being in some other communities, one of those in Rapid City in South Dakota, how important it was to get involved in the Chamber of Commerce and how quickly that could help me develop my own brand, because I knew I was going to be in sales in some regard. So as soon as I went into the hotel sales community, that was one of my priorities, to get plugged into the chamber.
Okay.
And so I became a volunteer, volunteered on the ambassador committee.
Okay.
I'm not sure you guys know much about the ambassadors, but we'll talk a little bit more about that today too, if you have time.
Yes.
But I knew that was one of the ways I was going to be able to get accustomed to San Antonio, and how I was going to be able to learn a lot more about the folks in the community, what the chamber was all about. And then I was going to be able to settle in a lot faster. And it worked. It really did work. And then it was about a year after that I moved into the downtown community. And I call that a community because for me in the hotel community, I really wanted to be downtown where all the action was.
Yes.
And I got to know more of the folks on the chamber staff, grew to respect them tremendously. Because they, just like many Texans from San Antonio and the region, are incredibly accommodating and welcoming and helpful, and just so warm and receiving just about everywhere you went. So that was very gratifying for me to be part of such a large group. And I never aspired to join the chamber team.
Wow.
And not until we left town for about 4 years.
Okay.
My wife got assigned to North Carolina and then to Altus, Oklahoma. And then we came back, so we were gone for 4 years. And I went to a chamber event.
Okay.
When I came back to town, I was looking for a job. And it was just like I'd never left. So many of the people that I knew that were at that chamber networking event, many of the staff, still a lot of the same folks, extremely welcoming. I remember when our CEO at the time, Richard Perez, this is a guy who knows thousands and knows them by name, right?
Yeah.
Very well connected. His family's been in this community for many, many years.
Yeah.
He's former councilman. Mm-hmm. And so for him to remember my name was pretty impressive, because he called me out in that group and by my first and last name. And I'm going, I don't think that I really measure up where this guy is concerned to some of his connections, but this is just the kind of people that you find all throughout San Antonio, and I think in Texas in general. Yeah. But certainly at the chamber too. So I went back into the hotel community, was selling there, and about a year later or so, this position opened up. And I thought, well, I called my predecessor who had left already, the chamber. And I said, you think I could do your job? And she said, oh, you'd be great at it. But Tuesday Night was her name. And, she's everybody's friend, anybody, and would encourage anyone. And certainly, we had a pretty good relationship, though. And she said I'd be great at it. So I threw my hat in the ring, and they made me jump through all the hoops that everybody else had to jump through though, to get that. And then they offered me the job, and I was over the moon and very honored that they would allow me to join the team. And so here I am 4.5 years later, I am the vice president of membership, so I run the membership team. And our team has grown from 2 that we had on board at the time to now we have 4 membership consultants. We have a membership experience advisor.
Okay.
And we have a coordinator for our department as well. So we've got a lot to keep ourselves busy.
Yeah, no, it sounds like, and I think I've heard that we went to this event, I think it was about 2 months ago, and it was where they were.
That was the annual.
Yes, the annual.
That was the annual.
I was going to call it this repurposed.
And that was the first annual I think we've ever had in 130 years.
Really?
I mean, of our recent recorded history, we may have had annuals in the past, but as I heard, and we went through strategic planning last year, and we decided through some reorganization that we were going to have 4 Board of Investors meetings, and one of those was going to be our annual that we were going to invite all of our members to. I agree with you. I think it was very well done, but I think it's really important for us to have a business meeting for our members to let them know where the organization is going
really
and where their investments are being invested back into the community and how the chamber is working for the community.
Yeah. No, I really did enjoy the event, and I know that there was, of course, a lot of people that were there, and I know that because of that event, I wasn't aware that was like the first annual, but it felt like you felt that there was going to be a lot of growth, or there was a lot of plan for growth.
Yes, of course.
So
that's what came out of strategic plan. We recognized that we really needed to grow as an organization. In membership sales, of course, we are always dedicated to getting more members and educating folks about the value of investing in the chamber. Another big part of that, as I mentioned earlier, the member experience advisor, Nicole's job is really to dedicate herself to making sure that our members understand how they can benefit from being a member of the chamber, and to get the maximum benefit out of being a member. Our membership consultants also have a role, as you guys have experienced the relationship there. So our membership consultants are responsible for helping our members stay engaged for the first 2 years after they come on to the chamber and to the membership. And then the member experience advisor, she will then continue to reach out to you and keep you engaged and reminded of what's coming up, and let you know what initiatives we're promoting, what policy we're shaping, and those kinds of things.
No, I really find that beneficial. So you did mention your wife. Both of you guys were in the service, or just your wife?
No, we both were.
Okay. What branch?
In the Air Force.
Oh, okay. Well, I did want to say thank you for your service, so I didn't want to pass that up.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, it was. I would say that it was beneficial for us and for our country. I know that I've met a ton of people who have served in the service, who are still in the service, and in fact, there are some branches of the service I think there's quite a bit more sacrifice, but and I've got a great deal of respect for Marines for sure, because those guys are they really offer a tremendous amount. But I've had so many of those guys say, "Hey, you guys were doing an incredible, valuable job and supporting us too." So they don't diminish. Although when we're active duty, we do hassle each other.
Yeah.
So we kid back and forth. But no, I appreciate that. We enjoyed serving. I only did it about 9 years.
Okay.
And the Air Force, in its wisdom, felt that I should stay in Grand Forks, North Dakota, when they sent my wife to Florida. And she was pregnant with our first child, and so we had a decision to make. I thought that separation was going to be a little hard on our relationship.
Yeah.
And she had a lot more potential than I did anyway, so we thought, well, we'll let her have a career, and I'll just follow her around. So
that's usually what
it worked out really
anyway.
well. And so she went 30 years.
Wow.
She just retired 18 months, 2 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, tell her we said thank you for her service as well.
You bet.
And so obviously you guys traveled a lot, and now you love Texas and you love San Antonio. So how does Texas, or San Antonio primarily, feel like home to you, especially after traveling so much and having other places called home? Why would you pick your last final roots to kind of be here in San Antonio? Or are these your last final roots, I guess?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, I think I'm still pretty young. I have contemplated retirement, but I don't even know what that looks like.
Yeah.
I've been working since I was 13 or so. I've always had some kind of job that generated some level of revenue. I mean, at 13, I'm not working full time, but
Yeah.
I can't contemplate what I would do in retirement. So this is, I think this is just as good as any home that we have lived in before. But I have also encountered that with a lot of folks, especially in San Antonio, that have retired and left the service, that they bring a lot of their experiences over their career here to their new home and make San Antonio that much greater. But I
Yeah.
think one of the best things that makes it feel so much like home is the Hispanic people. They're so welcoming
Yes.
and willing to please, especially where businesses and business owners are concerned. They're just such a wonderful, friendly people, and I think that that's contagious.
It is.
I think many of the other people who aren't Hispanic, they have really caught on to how nice that makes life, and so that they also adopt it as a way of living too, and it really makes this place really feel like home, and it's such a endearing community, and that's why we feel like it's home. Our girls have gotten their educations here. We have made decent livings here too, and so yeah, I can't imagine other than if my grandchildren are living in another state.
Yeah.
That might be the only reason why I might leave.
Why you leave?
Right.
That makes a lot of sense. No, yeah, my mom is originally from Minnesota, so I have family up north. But my dad's like Hispanic and Latino, so down here, this is where I grew up. So sometimes when I travel other places, I'm like, why does it feel kind of cold? So I know exactly.
Yeah.
Like, they're friendly, but there's something missing. There's like a certain like charm and genuine warmth.
Yeah, for sure.
So I really truly feel that about San Antonio. So it's really nice to hear that from people who like travel. You know, I'm like, I'm just biased, but actually I'm not. So
Right.
let's just be sure about that. So I want to go into more of the Chamber of Commerce. I think some people have an idea of what it is. So can you explain what the ultimate goal or goals of Chamber of Commerce is and how to explain it to people?
As you know, a big part of my role and those of my team is to help it make sense. We are in the fortunate position where we have quite a number of folks who reach out to us and ask us for more information about joining the chamber.
Yeah.
And so, of course, as you can imagine, we've given that a great deal of thought. What do our customers look like? What are they looking for from us? What benefits can we deliver for them? What value do we have to offer them? And can we do that on an ongoing basis? And one of the ways that we have adopted to discover all of those things is to have a real meaningful conversation with our folks, just like the conversation that was had with you guys.
Yeah.
It can't be transactional.
Yes.
I believe that it was a little bit more transactional when I joined the team 4.5 years ago, but that was because we just didn't have the time to have those lengthy conversations to find out from the business owners what they were looking for. So in doing so, what we've come to determine is that there are 3 primary types of members that come to us or that look at the chamber as part of its growth strategy or the business growth strategy. And one of those is the real young business. The business that's probably less than 3 years old, has less than 50 employees.
Shout out.
Yeah. And those folks are looking primarily, now there are exceptions to every one of these,
Yeah.
and we're careful to make assumptions.
Yes.
But primarily, they're looking for growth, and they're doing that through visibility and as well as credibility. That credibility piece really helps someone gain that foothold when developing a relationship with a potential client. That credibility piece can look a number of ways, but one of those is you can have on the back of your business card, proud member of the Greater San Antonio Chamber of Commerce. Or you can put the sticker on your car, or you can put it on your door. You can put it on your invoice. And that tells people intuitively that you are invested in the community. You're here to stay. And that they can start to trust you.
Right.
That doesn't mean all the trust comes pouring out to you. Some people will extend that to you.
Yeah.
But most people will start to trust you because they see that you're here to stay and that they can develop a relationship with you.
Right.
And they're not worried about where you're going to be tomorrow. The visibility piece is one that we help a lot of those folks in that small segment of the newer businesses by affording them opportunities to get next to folks who could be their potential clients from those networking events,
Yes.
from the ambassador committee, and from some of the other committees and councils that we offer. Those relationships start to be formed there when you can see people time after time, and then people can know that they can start to trust you then, and they can and trust you in a way that they can start a relationship with you.
Right.
And then we have the large businesses. And we'll talk about the ones in the middle in a minute as the third part. But the large businesses, those are the ones who understand the function of a chamber of commerce because it's part of their corporate governance. That's how they get engaged in the community. That's how they also shape public policy. That's how they help us understand what we should be pursuing.
Right.
And that's through those committees and councils too. That's where we offer businesses a voice.
Yes.
And then we take those voices and we help form our agenda, our public policy. Some of our legislative agendas are formed in that way.
Yes.
There's a lot of things that happen there too. We have been instrumental over the last 130 years of doing some pretty big things in the community, and I'll touch on those in a little while too. But the third segment are those businesses that are right in the middle. Still relatively new, but they have an upward trajectory, probably have more than 50 employees. They're not the major companies, they're not the bigs, but they really want to start giving back.
Yes.
The bigs give back tremendously.
Yeah.
But the smaller businesses that we talked about, they're not quite sure what that looks like. Again, they need to generate revenue.
Yeah.
And so we do what we can to help provide them opportunities
They're
to get.
still in those first steps.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. Yeah. So and so what we need to do is we need to have a conversation. It's very easy for us to ascertain what group you can fit in real quickly. But that just helps us start to frame the conversation. There are people who are in the middle of some of those segments.
Transition
Right?
segments.
And so we don't tell people what they can and can't do. We make some recommendations, but really it comes down to we need to understand what your challenges are. We need to understand what you need from the Chamber of Commerce. And we have a greater responsibility to tell someone who is a prospective member that maybe today is not a fit. We don't want to
Right.
take your money and then not be able to deliver a service that you really need.
Yeah.
So that's why we have to have a conversation, because otherwise, a year later, you get an invoice from us to renew, and then you're saying to us, well, we didn't get anything out of it.
Right.
And then we can look back and we can say, well, according to my notes, this is what, and I remember having this conversation with you, said this is what you were looking for. And that helps us grow together a little bit more if we have that conversation in the beginning.
Right.
And there are a lot of times that people come to us that haven't even formed their business yet.
Right.
And rather than to turn those folks away and say, we don't want you to be a member, we invite them to our events so they can experience what it would be like to be a member of the Chamber of Commerce, because it's not an exclusive club. We are a membership organization, and we derive our revenue from our members, whether that's in sponsorship dollars or in membership dues.
Right.
And that's how we operate and are able to deliver the services that we give to our members. But we want to make sure that it's an investment for them that's going to pay off.
They see the value in
in
it.
some regard, right? And that's what that conversation is all about. Let's uncover what your challenges are, and then let's see if there's a fit.
Yeah.
And if today it's not a fit, come to some of our events and let's talk about it again
Right.
in several months or a year from now.
Exactly.
But there are some people who say, no, I got to join and I have to do it today and I've got to get it done. And okay, then we welcome you.
Yeah.
Now let's look at how we can make this a valuable investment for you.
Exactly. So, and I really like the point of like the in-depth conversations and the deep conversations, which does help facilitate that community feel, because when you join the Chamber of Commerce, you want to feel like you belong.
Of course.
So that's what we've already kind of experienced. That we've been, I think, in the Chamber of Commerce for how long? 3 months, so 3 to 4 months. So we've gotten some value from there. And I think our biggest value is the event at Chicken and Pickle.
Yeah.
I won. I usually win at those events, and I'm like, oh my gosh, hi. So we won the Selena coasters.
I saw that. We're really gratified that our members bring so many items
They bring
to
really
give
cool
away and
things.
then highlight their offering
Yeah.
as well. And a lot of those networking events, as I touched on earlier, aren't restricted to our members only.
Yeah.
We invite a lot of folks to come to those so they can experience what it's like to be a part of
I didn't know
the
that.
chamber
So, like,
family.
if we knew somebody who was interested in joining the Chamber of Commerce, they could come with us to an event.
Most certainly.
Oh, okay. You said you wanted to touch point and explain something later. You were talking about the medium businesses or the bigger businesses and how they can contribute or to the community. You wanted to touch a point on that. Do you remember?
Well, I know that I was referring to some of the big things that the chamber had done over the last 130 years that a lot of folks aren't familiar with how we were involved. And the way that happened really is that a lot of our members, and I won't say that there's any requirement for the size of your company to get involved in the chamber, especially in those committees and councils. But the way that those committees and councils have brought about some incredible ideas, such as the World's Fair here in '68.
Yes.
The creation of the Riverwalk. That was done in the chamber, but not by the chamber staff. It was done by our members. It was done by the chamber facilitating a conversation and then helping to bring those ideas to fruition.
Love it.
We've got the Riverwalk, the Fiesta Commission, the creation of Biomed SA, the creation of what is now known as Greater SATX. That's the Economic Development Engine for our community.
Wow, I had no idea.
That was built under the chamber umbrella, and that list goes on and on. From also bringing the world's, of course, we go back to the World's Fair. That's not the only thing that we've done. No, it was also being involved in the conversation to bring a Cyber Command or 16th Air Force for them to stand that up here.
Wow.
The redevelopment at Port San Antonio, purchasing of and acquisition of the property where Medical Center is now.
Yes.
Those conversations were held in and around the Chamber of Commerce.
I had no idea.
Sure.
Wow, that's incredible.
And then there are times that every year we go to SA to DC, which is a trip that we take anyone that wants to go with us. But typically you'll find many of those in leadership positions in our community, whether that's industry leaders or politicos, but it's not restricted to anyone. So they go to us on this trip, and that helps us communicate to Washington, D.C. that San Antonio is to be taken seriously, that we have quite a lot to offer. We spend time at the Pentagon. We spend time at the various departments, like the Department of Transportation, and a number of the other departments, so that our citizens and our members can fully understand where a lot of their tax dollars go and where they're spent and how they work their way back here. So there's a lot of these kinds of opportunities too that will help our citizens appreciate the civic makeup of our country.
That sounds like a fantastic trip, honey.
Yeah, it's only a week long. Or you can call it a vacation, and it's typically in the spring. And you know, DC in the spring.
Oh, I bet.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the cherry blossoms.
Okay, I'm going to have to ask some questions about afterwards. That sounds like a really fascinating trip. I had no idea about that one either. So, and us being a part of the Chamber of Commerce, I still feel like you said, to new members coming in, we only know so much of what people tell us. And the more that we have with more conversations that we have with people that are members or also who work for the Chamber of Commerce, it's really interesting. Like, I had no idea about those things.
Sure. That's why I invite folks just like you to try those committees and councils. Even if let's just say that you saw in the membership guide something about cybersecurity, the Cybersecurity Council, and you don't have much of a desire to learn anything about cybersecurity, but you know there are people there who are buying and selling homes. So developing relationships there is no less important to you than joining the Economic Development Council or the Education and Workforce Council, and going and seeing what goes on there. I invite you to try those things out. Now, that is one of those areas that is restricted to our members. But we have folks that are interested in membership that want to go see what happens there before they join, and we invite them to. Yeah, we invite them to go to those and see what work is being done.
I would like more information.
Yes, of course.
What can I ask afterwards? What can I gain? I'm like, councils, ambassador program. So you've touched on the ambassador program a little bit. I know a little bit. I know Gabriel and I know a little bit about it. But tell us, what does an ambassador do versus just a random member?
Well, I used to say that our ambassadors were the workhorses of the chamber, but somebody said that that's not always a flattering comparison. And then I said, well, there are cheerleaders then. And then somebody said, well, maybe we can do something that's not so gender biased, right? So I said, oh my gosh, well, look, they're some of our greatest volunteers. We have the ambassadors welcome new members to the chamber through ribbon cuttings. And other celebrations that we do with our members too, because they're not just welcoming new members. Sometimes we go and celebrate anniversaries for companies that have been around, and they're celebrating milestones, or they've moved their company from one side of town to the other.
Wow.
We enjoy celebrating those milestones that companies
That's nice.
Want to celebrate. Today we had an incredible ribbon cutting at Savvy Sliders, which was downtown, and the food was excellent. But these are the kind of fun things that the ambassadors do, and one of the interesting things about that is such an advantage for those folks is that they get an opportunity to meet the decision makers of a business.
Yes.
When that ribbon cutting is happening, typically you have the senior management, if not your owners, of the business there.
Yes.
And, if you're in sales in any regard, meeting a decision maker is not the easiest thing to do. But those ambassadors have an incredible advantage to a lot of their competitive peers, and that is that they get to meet those folks during those ribbon cuttings. But it's also a real fun thing to do. Celebrating like that, a lot of folks are members of the chamber, folks who are coming into membership are incredibly generous and welcoming, and these are celebrations too.
Yeah.
So being a member of the ambassador organization or committee, there's a small cost to it, but it covers for you getting your sash and then your name tag as well. So you have a little bit more of an official capacity, because when you go to functions,
Yes.
you wear that sash and your name tag as well. And people recognize you as someone who's official.
Yeah.
And they have a little bit more ease with which.
Badge.
That's right. They have a little bit more ease with which they can cultivate a relationship or have a conversation with you.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with that, so I'll be like,
No.
see my badge,
Right.
everybody. Oh my gosh. Okay, so perfect. Speaking on the ribbon cuttings, I know that those must be fun for you. So you mentioned to me before we started this whole podcast of like wanting to show how fun the ribbon cuttings are and what value they provide besides just a picture. So tell us about what some really exciting ribbon cuttings that you've been to and what you're trying to now do with Facebook Live and the ribbon cuttings.
Well, I find some of those that are pretty exciting. I mean, they have been all over the map. As I think back over the last 4.5 years of those, but as I said, I was doing some of those in 2009 and 2010 and 11 as well. But gosh, there's so many. I really do enjoy those celebrations that we do with folks who don't have brick and mortars yet, because those folks are just as entitled to a ribbon cutting as anyone is.
So we can do our ribbon cutting without a brick and mortar?
You most certainly can, and that's what I'm
we
talking
can do it
about.
at the Chamber of Commerce.
Many folks come down to the Chamber of Office building downtown.
Yeah.
And we do it there in the offices. But you can just about name any place in town where you want to go have that ribbon cutting, and we'll...
Tower of Americas.
If you want to do it there,
Wait,
we
really?
will do it. We will. We certainly will. Yeah. And
Okay.
we'll lay out what some of the requirements are that we know of in some of those venues. And yes, we want to celebrate with you. So it is your day. So you tell us how you want to do it and where you want to do it, and we work to accommodate it.
That's really special.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. But keep going. You were talking about how you really like the new ones who don't have brick and mortar. What else?
I love those folks because, sometimes they can be really humble because they think that that's a real sign of having a successful business is when you have your own building.
Yeah.
And we want those guys to know we appreciate their work. We appreciate their dedication. We certainly appreciate their investment in the chamber, and that they are just as valuable to not only the chamber but to the community as any other business. And so we want to celebrate them, and we really want to celebrate their growth. We want to watch them grow. We want to watch them if they do decide that a brick and mortar is what they need to do. We want to celebrate with another ribbon cutting when they open those doors. So seeing that kind of growth is what's more exciting than anything, because it's that hunger for success and that hunger for accomplishment that is so gratifying for us to be a part of.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of parallels and correlations with the real estate business.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Right. You're part of a longtime member of the chamber. Phyllis Browning has been an investor with the chamber for a long time.
Yes.
Yeah. Very gracious lady.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah. I remember. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
To cut you off, but I remember I was calling Phyllis. I don't know what it was. We were doing a celebration of a new office, I think it was, or it was an anniversary. And I was just meaning to call her office. Mm-hmm. And so in my CRM system, I accidentally dialed her number.
Oh, okay.
Phyllis is on vacation at the beach
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah.
And she answers her phone.
Yeah.
And I've heard this story about her quite often, that Phyllis answers her phone. And I said something to her about it at the anniversary, at the ribbon cutting. Mm-hmm. And she said, oh, yeah, I've been answering my phone for, I don't know how many years she said she has been. But such a gracious lady and incredibly approachable and a lot to really be proud of and how much she's accomplished.
Yeah. You definitely do have to answer your phone as a real estate agent because you never know if that's your next client.
Well,
Like one of our clients that we had, he's actually a friend of ours now. He was like, I called 6 agents before you and you're the only ones who answered. And they never called him back. And I'm like, well, ding,
Isn't
ding,
that
ding.
crazy, right?
Buyer and a seller. There you go. So
That's exactly why even at the chamber, it is not even at the chamber, but my team knows that answering that phone is incredibly important and a very high
don't know
priority
who's on
for
the
me.
other end of it.
That's right. But if they've picked up the phone and they've dialed our number, they deserve our attention.
Yeah.
That's my perspective.
It is. It's a good perspective to have.
If you called my number, I'd answer.
I find that when in real estate we don't, so maybe some agents don't want to answer because you're just like, oh my God, it's probably spam. So sometimes I do because you know how your phone can filter out, like especially if you see that certain numbers for certain times, you're like, that's spam. I know it for sure. But does the Chamber of Commerce get lots of spam calls by chance? I wouldn't think they do.
No, I don't see a lot of them make
Okay.
it through onto my desk phone, and then some would, because I forward my desk phone to my cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
But most times my spam calls are coming through my private, or my, I guess, what do you call it? Just your private number, your my own cell number.
Yeah.
But
Personal.
I don't get a great number of those through the chamber. And every once in a while, ones that make it through, then I just let them know this is a business, and they go, oh, okay, sorry, and they hang up. They don't want to sell us a home warranty or an auto warranty, extend our auto, whatever it is.
If it's a home warranty,
I do get a lot of those calls
call the
about now.
Realtors.
Yes, right. I get a lot of those calls about me being old now, right? So you need some final planning insurance, and I get those quite often now. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
when you get around 50 or so, they start calling. Yeah, it shows up somewhere on a credit report or something. I don't know.
Okay,
right?
okay.
All of our information is out there in the ether for somebody to grab and filter out.
Yeah. So another thing I want to touch on is right before we started this podcast, you saw that we have Monopoly San Antonio Edition right behind us.
I did.
Of course, the Chamber of Commerce symbol is on there, and you were like, oh my gosh, we have it. So tell us how, like, the whole process for that. That's really interesting. I had no idea that you would have known information about that.
Well, a couple of years ago, I was in my office in the morning. It was early in the morning, too, and my phone rang, and I answered it. And it happened to be somebody from the company, Top Trumps, that had the rights to publish these special Monopoly versions for different cities around the world.
Okay.
They had come from doing one in Dubai, and I think that they had another one they had done somewhere up on the northeast coast that they were talking to us about. And the gentleman on the other end of the line was asking me if we could help with introducing this to San Antonio.
Okay.
Well, anything that the chamber can do to highlight San Antonio,
Right.
I'm on board with, right? And I thought it was a great idea too. Could you imagine? Now we don't have to. Now we can actually put it down here on the floor, and we can play Monopoly. That's got a bunch of highlights of San Antonio on it too. Well, then of course, I'm a big champion of the chamber. Of course, I guess I would be, or I wouldn't be working there, right? Mm-hmm. So I could just imagine the chamber brand being on the Monopoly game too. So I said, sure, I'll help. And a lot of times when people call us and ask for help, we help them understand that it's a membership organization, and that we have to prioritize helping our members.
Right.
Doesn't mean that we won't help others, and this was one of those cases as well. I kept seeing the benefit to the chamber all through this process, so we made some introductions for those guys, and they structured some relationships with them, and then in the end of this process, which I think took 6 to 8 months or so.
Wow. Okay.
Right. They had folks reaching out to various businesses in San Antonio and other entities and talk to them about this Monopoly game. And then they offered us the opportunity to brand it ourselves and to sponsor.
Nice.
And so that's why we have that. And we've given away a number of those at our networking events too.
Yeah.
This version of the game.
Had I known, we could have got it for free. Oh my gosh. That's actually our display version, or I'll get one from you for the display, and we'll actually give that one to the kids.
So we'll leave one in plastic?
Yeah.
Because then, right, that's almost
it's more
like
authentic.
That's exactly right. Right. When you sell it one day, it'll be worth a whole lot more that the seal's never been broken.
See? Can we have one?
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll have to check on the supply.
Yeah.
As I was saying earlier, recently, somebody from Top Trumps had reached out to us and asked us if we were ready to do a reorder. And this was offered at HEB. You said you ordered yours online.
Yeah, we ordered it on Amazon.
How did you hear about it?
Well, when we were starting this podcast, we knew we wanted this wall. We wanted to make a lot of things very specific to San Antonio, like this Van Gogh San Antonio inspired art. And we're like, just Google San Antonio. So we were just like scouring through Amazon, and that popped up, and we're like, we have to have that on the wall.
Yeah.
Like, we have to.
Well, I thought you must have gotten it from us, but then I'm not so delusional to think that we were the only ones who had it. I know that HEB must have sold a lot of them.
I think a lot of people, I know it's going to probably be completely random, but I consider like Fiesta my favorite holiday. Everybody's like, oh, Halloween and Christmas, which is great. Those are great holidays, but I love Fiesta time. So what does the chamber do and contribute to the community for Fiesta? Because I feel like Fiesta is one of the biggest community opportunities in San Antonio that San Antonio hosts, and it's like a week-long event, sometimes even goes a month long. So how does the Chamber of Commerce promote more community during that time?
Well, as I said earlier, the Chamber of Commerce was responsible for putting the Fiesta Commission together. Mm-hmm. And again, it's not the staff, it's the members of the Chamber who bring these ideas around a table, and then collaboration starts. And I'm not exactly sure, because as a transplant, I don't have the details as to the year it started and who all is involved now, and exactly where all of the scholarship money goes. But I do know that the Cavaliers and the Refeo groups do incredible work in gathering up a tremendous amount of money for scholarships for our young people. The Chamber has been for many, many years, if not from the beginning, involved in the kickoff of the ceremony that happens on a Thursday before all of the festivities start.
Yeah.
And so we celebrate that with a tie cutting. Or if we have a chair that year that is a lady, then we break the heel off of her shoe. Mm-hmm. So we've been for years past cutting someone's tie with the gold scissors that we used to cut the ribbons to open businesses with. So that's kind of a fun ceremony that we do to kick that off. And of course, we also celebrate. We have one of the barges in the parade that happens, the night parade on the river.
Okay, I was about to ask about that. So y'all do have a boat.
We do.
Okay.
We do. We have had for many years. And I just can't think right now of a lot of the other areas. And many of us, of course, participate with a lot of the other civic groups, a lot of the nonprofits that are putting on events as well. But our primary job at the Chamber of Commerce is to be a business advocate. And I could be missing some things too, but so this has to be, as much as it is on the record, is really off the record, because somebody's going to say to me, why did you say this and why didn't you say that? But the chamber is a supporter of a lot of things that go on Fiesta. We don't run a lot of things that happen during Fiesta.
Okay, yeah.
Because it's not our event.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what the Fiesta Commission does. Visit San Antonio is heavily involved in that. Centro does a great job too. And there are a lot of other entities that play a big part in Fiesta. And so we as the chamber, we endorse a lot of those folks and what they do and what they stand for. By attending those events, by supporting them in other ways too, and volunteering. So we just participate in the revelry like everyone else, just like you do. Yeah. So we're excited when it comes around.
Oh, I know. I'm so excited.
Last year we were ready to cut the tie in Travis Park. That's where the tie cutting had moved to because of some construction that was happening in front of La Vita and Hemisphere. Mm-hmm. And that was the day it decided to the clouds just burst open just before all that kicked off, right?
Yeah.
And I was on the roof of the St. Anthony Hotel, which is, by the way, one of the most beautiful hotels in San Antonio. If you haven't been by there, you've got to go in there. In fact, I'll drop this little tidbit that during the 300 celebration of San Antonio as a city, the St. Anthony hosted the King and Queen of Spain.
Wow.
And I was fortunate enough to be working there and brokered the contract that got the King and Queen of Spain there.
Wow.
So that's
congratulations.
Yeah. So,
He's like,
but I was standing on the roof when that rain opened up right then. So I saw it. I said, I don't think we're going to be cutting a tie today. And so they don't have a lot of time to go back and accomplish those things because they have such a tight slate of events, official events at that, going on. So they just went on with the party the next day, and it's all started, right?
I love it. Now, San Antonio's just vastly, quickly growing. Like, I've been here since I was 4 years old, so I consider myself a San Antonio native. Like, I remember when west of here, or like of this area, right, and west of 1604, just outside of 1604 in general, was just country, just land. And now it's just booming, and all of San Antonio is just thriving. So, huge economic growth. Do you find that the Chamber of Commerce is also having that immense growth as well?
Well, being the guy who's responsible for bringing in new members, in some regards, I'm never happy with. There's never enough.
Yeah.
For me, there's never enough growth. There's never enough new members coming into the chamber. There's never enough opportunity for us to tell our message and to share with people what we do and how we've been doing it for so long. We also, one of the questions you asked in the beginning was or I think you said something about what people believe about the Chamber of Commerce. And a lot of times the newer businesses have no clue what we do. They just say, some friend told me I should look at joining the chamber, and I'm not really sure what we're supposed to do about joining the chamber. We don't even know what you guys really do. So we asked them during those conversations, is what is it that you think about, or what do you understand about the chamber? And so often they have a lot that is correct about it, but then there are some misconceptions as well. And so I think one of those misconceptions is that we are a part of the city, or that we are under the direction of our government, and we are not. We are a nonprofit.
Right.
We derive all of our operating capital from our members through sponsorships, our memberships, as I said earlier, too.
Yeah.
And I think that I really just want to make sure that my team is spreading the message. There has been some substantial growth over the years, and not just because of my work. Our team does an incredible amount of work from our folks in policy to our folks in education and workforce, cybersecurity, the military space. The chamber owns the military space. CAM is coming up as well. We're going to celebrate all of the military folks in our community. That's Celebrate America's Military. That's coming up toward the end of October, first part of November, which is very gratifying.
Yes.
We have currently our CEO, interim CEO is a retired one-star general, former fighter pilot. I'm former military. Lori Stinson, who is our vice president of military affairs, 24-year military spouse. And then Jeff Fair, who is cybersecurity, the vice president of cybersecurity and also economic development, 24-year vet of the Army. So we understand that space really well.
Yeah.
And it's I won't say it's easy, but I think it makes a lot of sense to call San Antonio Military City.
It is
as a result of that representation. But
Mm-hmm.
I say all of that to say this is that there's always room for more folks at the chamber. We're working for all of the businesses in chamber, representing the voice of all of the businesses, from the size of your business to those of our largest employers,
like HEB and
yes,
stuff.
of course,
Yeah.
USAA and New Star and Victory Capital and the like. So, and the only way that we can represent the voice of those businesses is if we have them as members, and is if they are telling us and sharing their voice with us through those committees and councils, and actually just picking up the phone and calling us, because we love hearing from them.
Yeah, I like how during the annual, I think there was an email that was sent out where we could reply anonymously, or like give some feedback.
That was a survey. That's right.
Yeah, a survey. So I think, was that the first time y'all have done that before?
It's first time in a long time that we had done it.
Yeah, I remember something.
And I really enjoyed seeing the responses. Oh, for sure. And, some of it was critical.
Yeah.
But without that voice, we
You guys
can't make
wouldn't have known, you
improvements.
can't grow.
That's right. We'd
Right.
think we're doing just fine.
Yeah. You're like, oh, there's people still coming in.
Most certainly.
Still making that revenue. Yeah.
And so I encourage our members to share that information with us. And if there's another anonymous way that you can send information to us, I welcome it. In fact, the other day, there was a lady who called and left a voicemail, and it was after hours, and she was talking about some of the homeless challenges that we have downtown. And the chamber is not closed off to just members alone. Those are the folks that we serve, and we have a priority of serving. But we welcome folks to call the chamber. We welcome folks to reach out to us and get more information. We honor those calls every day, and those emails and folks stopping by our website.
Yeah. You said you've been with, actively working for the Chamber of Commerce for 4 years.
That's right.
So you started right before COVID, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I did. I was there
I think
about
you know
a year.
I'm going with this question.
No, yes,
Yeah.
I was there about a year before COVID started.
Okay.
And I left hospitality about a year before COVID started. So I couldn't help but say it was fortuitous.
Yeah.
But of course, a year out from COVID, a year out from that March, nobody saw this
Yeah.
thing coming. You didn't see it, didn't know what was going on in December. So
Yeah.
it was just it was a real blessing that I joined the team.
Yeah.
So now where is the question going?
The question is going. The question's going. How did the impact of COVID? Because we were closed for a majority of 2020.
That's right.
And didn't really practically the whole year. We didn't really open up anything. So how did that impact the Chamber of Commerce? I'm sure you guys had things scheduled, and those had to get postponed. How did y'all react to that? And now, have y'all made changes in the wake of COVID?
Initially, no one in the country, much less the world, knew what was going to happen, what a pandemic was. Nobody was alive anymore that had lived through the Spanish flu, right? So we didn't really know how to react. We knew that information was going to come to us every day from a lot of different sources.
Right.
When we were sent home in March, we all knew that we were going to have to continue on our work, but we didn't know what that looked like. Initially, I told my team, we're going to reach out to all of our members right now. We're going to talk to them about what they need, what's going on in their business. Let's get a sense of how we can help them. Right. Then we can channel that back to our other vice presidents in the various policy areas that they represent.
Yeah.
And then we can make sure that we're giving them what they need. So that took us about 2.5 weeks to get, I think we probably reached about 60% of our members, because a lot of folks went home. A lot of folks didn't move their phones over. They didn't switch over. They weren't answering calls. There was a lot of questions out there. So we did that, and then we got a real good sense of what was what we should be doing. The funny thing happened was that the calls didn't stop coming in for people wanting to join the chamber.
Really?
I thought that would stop.
Right.
But it did not. It never stopped. In fact, what we saw happen over the next 3 months from March, April, and May was it to start to increase. More people wanted to join the chamber. So I told my team, initially I said, we're not going to be selling memberships or ever be accused of selling during a pandemic, so let's talk to our members first, and then we'll figure out.
Yeah.
But we had to return those calls, and we had to talk about, because people wanted to know about joining the chamber.
Yeah.
They didn't stop doing business.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So we ended up in that first year, there were about 200 or so members or so that we extended their membership.
Wow.
The following year was about the same amount but there were some different ones. Some had started to do business again. Some of the restaurants were coming back by then, and they stayed with us. But then we ended up extending a large group of those into through the next year.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, I think that was one of the ways that we could support them. But the other way was we quickly set up a website that hosted vetted information. The internet was replete with information people couldn't respond, or couldn't not only respond to, that's true, but that couldn't rely on it.
Right.
It was coming from too many places. And one of the things that we sought to do was to help not only our members, but any businesses come there and find information they could trust. Because, look, the chamber, if you can't trust the Chamber of Commerce in times of a pandemic, when can you trust them?
Right.
Right. So,
Right.
and so we sought to continue on that way. But then our members, especially ones that sponsor a lot of our events, said, "You're not shutting events down, are you?" So we quickly pivoted to doing a lot of things virtually.
Yeah.
We had an incredible
Smart.
director of special events at the time who helped us navigate that, and he was even in California at the time.
Yeah.
So he was helping us navigate that, and so it just so happened that doing it from California didn't matter if he was doing it in his living room
Exactly.
here. So
Yeah.
it worked out really well. We then changed some of our meeting facilities to be able to handle virtual meetings as well. Mm-hmm. Virtual events, virtual meetings.
It just expanded everything.
But by
Nice.
now, but now we're back to, and we were anxious by the time we started to return. We were anxious to get back to face meetings.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, and there's still sometimes we still have some of our a virtual aspect of some of our council or committee meetings, but for the most part, they're all in person now.
Is there anything that you want to end with? Is there any fun fact or anything interesting about Chamber of Commerce that you haven't said? Because I know you're like, they're going to kick me because I didn't say this or I didn't say that. Is there something that we haven't talked about or hit on that you're like, oh, I really wanted to make sure that this point was made, or anything like that, or a fun fact about Chamber of Commerce, something funny, interesting story, anything that you'd like within the last few minutes?
No, I think to put that personality on it, because one of the misconceptions that a number of our members have, especially the younger generation, is that the Chamber is an organization that our grandfather or our father belonged to, and it's a bunch of old silver-haired guys sitting around sipping whiskey and smoking cigars. and that's something that it hasn't been happening around the Chamber for a long time. Spending any amount of time with the Chamber, I think, especially with your own experiences, you can come to realize pretty quickly that the Chamber, it does have fun. We are normal people too.
Yeah.
We are just there to serve our members and to serve the business community, and to make sure that we are the primary source of and the primary voice of businesses to our elected officials. We choose to be a primary source of information that they can rely upon to help make decisions that are going to affect our lives and the lives of the families that are represented by those businesses too.
Yeah.
We currently have just less than 2,000 members. We're looking for that to grow over the next year. Our hope, and certainly those in membership, is to grow that to about 3,000. I'd like to grow that by the end of the year, but that had never happened. I'm trying to be a realist too, but
I'm the same way.
yeah. But we are open to what our members have to say. That's the only way that we can represent their voice, and have more of those folks in the fold. It just makes that voice that much more valid when we're talking to the folks who aren't really sure what the business community is all about.
Yeah.
And the business community is really the voice for good in our community. Phil Green, the CEO of Frost Bank, coined that phrase during his year as chair last year, and I really think that there's so much truth in it. You guys know it now too, as business owners yourself, and that is helping this community remain a vibrant, welcoming, beautiful place to live and raise your families. And that's what it's really all about, and it's all about the people in this community.
Absolutely. And do you have any plan to grow yourself and to move up in the Chamber of Commerce, or do you like your position where you're at?
I love my position right where I am. No, we are currently in the process of seeking to fill the CEO position, but I've had some people say, "Hey, why don't you throw your hat in?" And I think what's more important in my life is to know what I'm qualified to do. And what I'm not qualified to do, and I've seen folks in that role before. Well, I've seen currently Dave Peterson is filling that role now, and Richard Perez had been in that role for 15 years. I have so much admiration for those guys. I am quite happy with where I am.
Yeah.
And our team is doing extremely well. I'm proud of my team, so I'm going to continue on as long as they'll have me in this role, or until it's time to retire.
Talk to us, Joe, about the website and where to reach you and the social media.
The best place to reach us at the Chamber of Commerce and to find out what's coming up is go to sachamber.org. And you'll find a number of tabs on there. You can see events. That is constantly changing because we add events all the time. The next one that's coming up is going to be at Howl at the Moon on the 26th of September. That is a networking event that's going to happen in the evening, and that's on a day when there's free parking downtown.
Yeah,
right?
Tuesdays.
So that's right. After 5 o'clock, you can park at City Structures downtown, and so that one's got one pretty close to it too on 111 College Street. Howl at the Moon is an incredible member. A lot of great entertainment there.
Gabriel and I went there one time. Got super
But
drunk,
you can also go there and learn a lot about those committees and councils that I've talked about, the areas of business and of the community where we're heavily involved, and you can be involved as well. So the best phone number to call is 210-229-2100. Again, that's 210-229-2100. And I think that you can find out a lot of information at those two different places.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you can find us on Facebook and you can find us on Instagram, but I don't know all those handles. I don't have. I'm sure that Gabe's going to post those up, right?
He will. So, obviously, we're realtors, so we always give our clients housewarming gifts.
Oh, I thought you was going to say a home. It's a home warm. Okay.
Well, we give them a home, but who cares about that? We always give them a gift. So one thing we like to do is always give something personal. So I'm also an artist, so I like to just create art and stuff like that. So you'll kind of see my piece back there with our letter Z.
Oh, that is so nice. I've been admiring that.
And I have a piece over there. So that's just a few. A lot of my pieces are actually at my parents' house that I need to bring over here. Almost 100 pieces, I think. Or maybe 50. Anyways, doesn't matter. So we always give our clients a canvas. And so one thing we also wanted to start doing is giving our podcast guests a canvas. So you're more than welcome to take it home to you and your wonderful wife and to hang it on your wall if you want to.
Oh, I appreciate that. I feel kind of bad I didn't bring you anything.
No. It was a plot. We wanted you to come here. We know it's taking time out of your day. You're in our house. You know what I mean? So thank you so much for coming and taking your time. But here is your Hold on, I don't want to break everything. Your canvas.
Oh, wonderful.
And
Look
I
at
make
that.
it out of...
I love the colors.
Oh, you do? Okay, so I make it out of
do.
crayon. So it's melted wax.
Oh, this is fabulous.
And it's all yours.
Well, everyone who knows me knows that I love vibrant colors.
Really?
Oh, yes. And certainly where this type of art is concerned, too. Because my daughter is also... both of my daughters are quite artistic. But my youngest, who's still living at home, has quite a number of paintings around too. So, but this is going to be a beautiful addition to our wall. So I thank you so much for this.
Well, thank you. You're welcome.
I didn't expect anything quite this nice, but this is going to be one of those things that we're going to have to wrap up to and preserve because one day it's going to be extremely. Well, it already is very valuable.
When we're on HGTV.
Did you sign it? Where's
on the back of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, on the back of it. I put Home Sweet Home Live. I put a hashtag because that's trending these days. Yeah, so there you go.
Thank you so much. I love those colors.
We'll be on HGTV one day. You can be like, oh my God, I was on their second podcast.
I'll be able to go back and pull it up. It'll be on YouTube.
Exactly.
Forever.
Yeah, be like, see, I know them and there's proof.
Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, well, thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. So I'm going to let us out on YouTube and then we're going to get into the live Q&A. Okay. I knew, you know what, that is a question that I wanted to ask that I forgot. So what are some advice that you have for startuppreneurs or young business owners just starting out or wanting to start up?
It's a fabulous question. Earlier I touched on it and I never went back and visited that. Okay,
is that
fantastic.
Cool? Thank you guys so much for watching. I've enjoyed this interview so much with you, Joe, and it was just off the charts, not off the charts, without a hitch.
Nope. I think both. It was my pleasure.
I know. Yeah. Every single time we have gone to, I think we've been to maybe 4 or 5 events. Every single time we've gone, you've been there. You've just been this radiant energy, really fun, really exciting. So you definitely make the Chamber of Commerce a more inviting and welcoming place. So
thank you.
We truly, truly appreciate your presence there. And we look forward to many meetings afterwards.
Appreciate that. Thanks so much.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave some comments down below. I'll have Joe's information if you want to get in contact with him, as well as the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce website and their number. And if you have any questions, leave comments down below. If you have any questions for Joe, we will leave you his personal number. Just kidding. No, just kidding. We will leave you the number for the Chamber of Commerce. If you guys like to join, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to hit us up. You can also reach Gabriel and I at 210-504-5301. We are San Antonio's Realtor couple, and we help people buy, sell, and invest in and around San Antonio. So we'd love to help you out with that. We will see you guys on the next podcast. See you guys in October. Bye.